If you've been watching this channel, you know that I'm a fan of low-budget science fiction B-movies from the 50s and 60s. Why is that? Well, there's a nostalgia factor, of course, because I grew up watching those films on TV. And I also like the pulp art aspect of them imported from those science fiction anthology magazines. I like the innocence of them, the optimism, and just the imagination that goes into some of those. We've talked about a few of those films in the past, such as Conquest of Space and Flight to Mars. And I had never heard of those two films, and that actually applies to today's film as well. This is the Kazdoy Closet. I'm Kazdoy. That's my closet full of all the stuff that I love. And today, more sci-fi B-movie goodness, but this time featuring an A-list actor. Let's check it out. Today's film is Battle of the Worlds. It's from 1961. It's about 90 minutes long in color. This is about a meteor that they've called the Outsider, and it's on a collision course with Earth. But it actually turns out it's not a meteor, it's a stray planet, probably filled with aliens. So what do? Do we destroy this meteor / planet before it hits the Earth? Or do we try to make contact with these aliens and learn what's going on with them? Well, this one stars Claude Rains as Professor Benson. Now, he's an A-list actor among a bunch of unknown people in the rest of the cast. Claude Rains was nominated 4 times for Best Supporting Actor Oscar. He was in The Invisible Man, Casablanca, Alfred Hitchcock's film Notorious, among many others like Lawrence of Arabia. In World War II, he damaged his eye, which I'm guessing is one reason why one of his eyebrows is always arched. Is that possible? And he also had damage to his vocal cords from gas. Not the kind of gas that I might get from the Mrs. Kazdoy Closet's cooking, but a gas like a weapon, warfare. He was also an acting teacher, and some of his students included John Gielgud and Laurence Olivier. That's pretty impressive. Equally impressive, he was married 6 times. His character in this film is like the most brilliant guy around, but he's also very cynical, egotistical, rude, mean, sarcastic. He's mean to everybody in this film except his lovely 20-year-old female assistant for some reason. But honestly, I thought his character got pretty annoying and was pretty one note. I mean, he starts obnoxious and he just gets more and more obnoxious through the rest of the film. I don't know why he did this film. It's a low-budget film, so I don't know if he did it for the money. Maybe they gave the entire budget to him. Maybe because it was shot in Italy and he wanted to go to Italy. That's possible too, I guess. But the other actors in here are all okay. There's some kind of dubbing going on. I think a lot of them were speaking English, but it's still dubbed. And some were speaking Italian and it's dubbed in English. At any rate, for a lot of the film, the voices don't sound like they're coming naturally on the set, except for Claude Rains. Apparently, for the most part, he did not want his voice dubbed. There are also 2 couples in the film that are the boring kind of love interest, I guess, to try to attract a female audience to go see this film. The director was Antonio Margheriti, also known as Anthony Dawson. A lot of those foreign film directors back in this time anglicized their names, I guess, so they wouldn't scare away audiences thinking this is going to be a foreign film or something. He's actually made several Italian science fiction films that seem to be his preference. And Stanley Kubrick, when he was making a little film called 2001: A Space Odyssey in pre-production, invited Margheriti over to get some feedback regarding problems he may have encountered during some special effects on this film. Now, I had very low expectations for this film based on what I had read. So let's look at the good and bad of Battle of the Worlds. The good part is the plot is pretty unusual. There's actually a good deal of action. I expected it to just be a lot of talk. It wasn't that. I'd say it's about half action and half talking. There are some interesting lighting choices. think of Mario Bava's science fiction films and his films in general, but on a more of a low budget scale. There are some interesting effects. The flying saucers in this film look actually really good. I expected them to be really cheap and you could see the wires and stuff. I thought they looked really good. And you know, growing up, a lot of kids draw stuff over and over again. Well, my thing was I would draw flying saucers, different types of flying saucers over and over again, probably because of all the films I was watching as a kid. And I was kind of obsessed with UFOs at that point. And so these look really good in this film. Also, the inside, this is a little bit of a spoiler now, they do go inside this meteor / planet at the end. And the design of the inside is pretty cool. It shifts from red, like red tubes hanging everywhere, to green tubes hanging everywhere. Then you see the aliens, and they're I don't want to give away too much, but it's very interesting looking. And I was surprised at that. Very creative. Most of all is the weird soundtrack. It's this very science fiction type music. Very eerie. Think of maybe like a theremin or a Moog synthesizer, but it's not those, but that kind of weird noise. And every time it shifts to outer space or shifts to the meteor / planet, that music kicks in right away. So there's a lot of that weird type music throughout this film. And I thought that was kind of surreal and really added a lot to the film. Now the bad stuff is, I talked about the dub voices, I talked about the kind of lame love interest subplots, and the wooden dialogue. There's a lot of pretty wooden dialogue in this, and some interesting dialogue too. There's also some stock footage. When the meteor is getting close to Earth, apparently it's playing havoc with the climate on the Earth. So there's some stock footage of lightning and tidal waves and tornadoes and hurricanes and stuff. And so that kind of, the whole look of the film shifts because of the stock footage. The special effects are okay for the most part, but for the explosions, it's obviously animation. And some of the miniatures they use are obviously miniatures as well. The edits are very obvious. It's very choppy. It cuts back and forth to different things very abruptly. And then when it cuts to the planet, the music kicks in right away, that weird music. Then it cuts back to inside the spaceship. The music changes. It's just very jarring, the editing. Probably worst of all, the picture quality is not very good. It's pretty drab and looks pretty washed out. But otherwise, I had a good time with Battle of the Worlds. I'm going to give this one 3 flying saucers out of 5. So what's on this disc? This is a film detective disc again. I've talked about them before. It has a booklet that's about 10, 12 pages long. It's okay. I would have liked a little bit more information about this film. It has a really good extra. It's about 30 minutes long, about the director and about Italian science fiction films in general from this era. Really enjoyed that. So where can you see Battle of the Worlds? Here's the good news. It's on YouTube for free, so it must be a public domain film. And I looked at it. It looks about the same, just as good as this one does, this Blu-ray does. So if you're curious about Battle of the Worlds, just go on YouTube and type it in and you'll see it right there. So feel free to leave a comment or suggestion down below here. Let me give a shout out, as the kids say, to a few people that recently left comments since my last episode. Michael, Martin, Brandon, Tina Jo. Thank you for commenting. Really appreciate it. Feel free to leave a thumbs up. Don't leave a thumbs down. Subscribe would be great. I just realized before I started recording this, we hit 400 subscribers. Thank you all so much. I'm going to make a toast in a second. But first I want to thank new subscribers, Wilson, Michael, a different Michael, and Jarvis. Thank you so much for subscribing. Let's get out the official Kazdoy Closet shot glass, one of a kind. Let's get out some bourbon that the Mrs. Kazdoy Closet just got me for Christmas. Widow Jane, aged 10 years. Never heard of it. It's quite good. Now, it's still pretty early right here. It's only about 3:30 or so. So I'm just going to have a little bit, but I have to have it to celebrate There we go. Celebrate 400 subscribers. Thank you all so much. Really appreciate it. That's pretty good. So feel free to subscribe. If you do, hit that little bell. It'll notify you whenever there's a new episode coming up. And once again, it's free. I'm not selling anything. No Patreon stuff. No eBay store. Excuse me. Nothing like that. Just here to be a voice in the darkness and share my love for all this stuff back here. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.